What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Brinson. I'm your host. It is time for some betting trends. Looking ahead to Week 17. Can't believe it's already Week 17. Joining me to break it down, Tyler Sullivan, aka Sully. What's up, buddy? How we doing?
What's going on, Will? How you doing?
I'm
Time
good.
no talk.
I know it's been it's been at least 24 hours.
Yeah. When did
No, it hasn't been 24
I don't
hours.
think it has. When did Hackett get fired? That was like at noon.
No, we talked after Hackett got fired.
Right.
No, we talked twice yesterday.
I know. Look at us.
Yeah, look at us. Welcome to holiday hell. Just kidding. It's weird. The week. This is why, again, and not to belabor the point here, but like Christmas on a Saturday and Sunday it's like I would vastly prefer it to be on like a Tuesday, Wednesday.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because then the NFL doesn't move the schedule. You have the normal games. And look, I mean, I get it. People, it's great. Christmas football is fantastic for if you don't have to cover football. But then it's like you do the basic football, and then it's like, okay, now we get our two holiday days, and you can push one back to Tuesday or Wednesday if you want. Maybe Wednesday, Thursday. I don't know. I just now it's like Christmas. It was Saturday, Sunday. It's like a lot of the world is just not like my brother didn't work. My dad's like, I might work this week, and then
I'm
all
out of sorts. It kind of feels like Thanksgiving, right? Because it was like. There was 3 games on. It's just a lot of moving around. I'm all out of sorts this week. It's crazy.
Right. Well, it's like I feel like I'm supposed to be like allowed to not work this week, but as it turns out, that's not the case at all.
No, I don't think we can do that.
Well, but like there's a lot of people out there who aren't working.
Yeah, no.
They're off work.
Yeah, no. My fiance had the Monday off, obviously, because that was like the holiday. I mean, it's just and like she's working today, but it sounds like it's a mail-in type of.
Yeah, like there would be like I was like, can we just not do the press coverage show? It's like no.
There's a lot of let's kick it to the new year emails going around. I think.
Yeah. I feel like in the real world, people are not working.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, there are a lot of people working. I understand. I don't mean that. I just mean like Anyway, I'll come off of sounding. We're working. We're blue collar.
We're working hard. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Let's get down to some betting trends and look at the other thing we should do is talk about the clinching scenarios too while we're here, because I do think that those are important for betting purposes. There's a lot going on in the NFL for Week 17, and so let's sort of loop these in as we look at this. Buffalo has clinched the AFC East and can clinch home field advantage and the only first round bye with a win against New England, or excuse me, with a win against Cincinnati on Monday night in Cincinnati and a Kansas City loss. Now, this is interesting because there's a lot of motivation, Sully, for the Bills to win. But as you pointed out, as we were planning our thing, the Bengals are on quite the tear against the spread.
Yeah, they are the best team to bet on wire to wire this season. 12-3 against the spread. That's better than anybody in the NFL. That includes a 5-1 ATS mark at home. And they're getting a point here with the Buffalo Bills. And you talk about playoff scenarios and all of that too. Cincinnati is not only playing to secure the division and kind of keep themselves in that mix and not let Baltimore catch them, but there is an outside chance that they become the number 1 seed. They would need to beat Buffalo and then I believe have Kansas City drop a game, because then they would all be even with their records and it would be head-to-head tiebreakers, which obviously Cincinnati would then have one over Buffalo and had one over Kansas City earlier in the year with their win. So there's a lot to play for with Cincinnati. And just to give you a couple more trends here with Buffalo, they've covered 57.1% of their games on the road this season, but they are 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 games against teams with a winning record. So they're blowing out bad teams like you saw last week against Chicago in Chicago. But when it's a little bit of a more elite team, the games are a little bit tighter.
I can even argue that it's surprising to see that the Bengals aren't favored here.
Yeah.
Breach immediately had on our early odds show on Sunday had the Bengals circled as a possible best bet. I said I thought that the line could move and that Cincinnati would end up being favored. And so if you like the Bengals, now's the time to take them on the money line because you're getting plus money. You don't have to lay any juice. I think I would, unless barring some kind of injury. And Joe Burrow and that offense have been fantastic. They're at home. It's a Monday night. It's a primetime game. This is where you don't want to bet against Joe Burrow. Now, it's Josh Allen and the Bills. So, I mean, like, they can come in and be fantastic. But the reality is it wouldn't be shocking at all if the Bengals won this game. Also worth noting that this is, depending on when you play your fantasy finals and depending on whether you're involved in best ball tournaments or not. And I should note that I got one through the finals on the big dog. Yeah. 64 teams left. Winner gets $100,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And I got Joe Burrow and T. Higgins in that one too. So it's like, they haven't processed like all the teams through.
Good week last week with that.
Yeah. Had TJ Hawkinson as well.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. We had it was actually kind of a sweat-free advancement to the finals, which was pretty cool. But I don't know if $100,000 is enough to make me not show up to work, but I mean, I will definitely show up really, really hungover.
That's worth a personal day, maybe. I don't know.
We're probably not doing the press coverage show on Monday.
It's not a full on double freedom fingers and you're moving to an island, but you're taking a day off.
Right. Well, so like, yeah. There's no island. Actually, I guess it would be that Monday night. It would be. Well, see, that's the thing is like, I mean, how many teams in the fantasy finals that are playing in week 17, or how many teams in this best ball league are going to have Josh Allen, Steph Diggs, Devin Singletary, Gabe Davis, Joe Burrow? I mean, it's so many huge players in this game. Yeah. I think kudos to the NFL for getting this one right on a Monday night this late in the season with so much at stake. I love Cincinnati in the spot, but I don't think you can definitively say like they're just going to win. I mean, you can love the Bengals, but I mean, either team could take this one down.
Worth pointing out that La'el Collins ACL out for the year, massive injury for Cincinnati. And I do wonder how much that second half against New England shifted things, because for whatever reason, and it really was so weird. Obviously, I watched that entire game. I was covering it for the site, and it's the Patriots, so I was watching it.
Yeah, I think it
was in Foxborough.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. The Marcus Jones pick six completely put the game on its head in Cincinnati. It almost looked like some sort of like Freaky Friday situation where these two teams just absolutely switched and they were moving the ball. And I'll say New England was getting a lot of lucky breaks there. I mean, the Jacoby Myers touchdown, that was a tip drill.
Ridiculous.
Was just insane. It was, that's just a lucky break. I mean,
the first half, it looked like, wow, Joe Burrow wants to steal the MVP.
Yeah, and because that's what it was looking like. I mean, it was looking like maybe the worst loss in recent memory for the New England Patriots in that first half, 22-0. And the defense stood up, and that was great. But there were some lucky kind of plays there that put points on the board for New England. So, I don't know if I want to put too much stock into like, oh, they had this crazy collapse, and that's maybe why that they're these dogs now against Buffalo. It was kind of circumstantial. To me, I put more stake in the Collins injury than I do maybe that second half collapse or near collapse.
Yeah, I think the Collins injury is a big deal. And by the way, I don't know if you could see it from the press box, but on television, it was like his season's over.
Yeah, I believe it's already ACL. I think it's
No, I'm saying like the second that he went down to the ground.
Oh yeah.
There were like two Patriots were like screaming at the sideline, it's one of those things when you see like the opposing like the opposing players are like immediately yelling for trainers, that it's a season ending injury. It stinks bad. I know. Tampa Bay can clinch the NFC South with a win over the Carolina Panthers. If the Panthers win, the Panthers then need to win in Week 18 to clinch.
Yes, that's how
regardless of what Tampa Bay does. But Tampa Bay can clinch. And you look at this game, Sully, and anything pop to you in terms of my, what is it? What is Tampa got going on here?
So this is what's interesting is that, Tampa's laying a field goal at Raymond James Stadium under any
standard home field advantage.
Right. And if you had said that going into the year, you're like, wow, this is,
I would like $4 million on the Buccaneers.
Absolutely. But I'll tell you this, and I think this is flying a little bit under the radar. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers do not have an ATS win at home this season. And it's the only team in the NFL that does not have an ATS win at home. They're the worst team to bet on, 0-6-1. I'll tell you that includes a game in Germany because they were technically considered the home team. But even if you throw that one out, because technically it was neutral site, You're talking about 0-5-1 at
Wow.
Raymond James Stadium this year. You wouldn't expect that, especially because it feels like that's a good home field advantage for them. But it's just the way that this team has been playing right now. And it's so funny. You go back to week 7, the Carolina Panthers were a 13-point underdog
At home.
at home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's still the largest upset that we've seen this season. And now it's going into it's shrunk so much to 3 points. And
I mean, that's essentially like a
15-point swing, right?
What would be if you flip the home field advantage, it'd be like minus 18. So yeah, it's like a 15-point swing.
Insane. And so
crazy.
It's just, now it's crazy, but like the Panthers have just been playing better football. I know that the Buccaneers won and it was great. That's great to see Tom Brady pull out another one, but it's not like they were willing themselves to victory. It wasn't like it was Tom Brady last year in the divisional round or whatever it was against the Los Angeles Rams, and he's chucking his way all over the field. He didn't play great, and this team hasn't looked great.
Horrible watching that. I fell asleep twice during that game.
Like, it's hard to feel good about coming out of that victory if you're a Buccaneers fan, because you needed overtime and really just a botched kind of
and the previous win you needed like 2 touchdowns in the last minute, like 3 minutes or whatever. Yeah, it's crazy.
And so for me, this one feels.
Okay, it's Carolina plus 3 is minus 115, so it's possible it gets under the 3. If you like the Panthers, now I like the Panthers a lot.
I did too.
I think Carolina just wins the game outright, and then could absolutely see the Panthers choking in week 18.
Yeah,
creatively, but yeah, I mean the Bucs have been bad against the spread. The Bucs have been bad at football in general, and Tom Brady looks disinterested and Miz on the field at all times, like in a way you never, except for maybe 2019 in New England, you just have never seen him like that in his entire career. He looks absolutely miserable out there. They can't connect on passes. They're not on the same page. They can't the deep ball is not there. He's throwing picks all over the place, and
I mean, even in that comeback, Will, it wasn't like they had 1 or 2.
They played terrible the whole game, Sully.
But the only way that they were moving the football primarily was throws out to the flat to Rashad White or Leonard Fournette. There were no real chunk plays that were able to put them over the top, and that's been their Achilles heel pretty much all season. It's why him and Mike Evans have just been so out of sorts. I think that this team misses a Rob Gronkowski, a legit threat over the seam, because Cade Otton, he was making a number of mistakes in that game. He's a young player.
He's tight end. I mean, yeah,
figure it out, but. That to me is the biggest X factor in this, because there's nothing over the middle up the seam that Tom Brady loves to throw to. That's been their biggest weakness so far. And so I don't see it changing anytime soon.
No, and that Gronk up the seam opens up everything else on the outside, because you can't drop coverage there, because then you leave the seam open and Tom Brady just smokes it up. And he and Gronk have had that timing down so well. Yeah, I think that's probably a good point. I lean towards the Panthers. This is where it gets interesting too. Philadelphia. Well, actually, we can talk about we'll talk about the Jacksonville. We'll talk about Philly. So Philly clinches the NFC East title with a win or a Dallas loss. They also clinch home field advantage and the first round bye in the NFC with a win, a tie plus a Minnesota loss, or a Dallas loss or tie plus a Minnesota loss plus a San Francisco loss or tie. So a lot going on there. Just from a betting perspective, does anything stand out to you with those teams? We got Vikings at Packers, quite notably, with the Packers trying to get back involved into the playoff hunt. Anything stand out with those matchups? Because in other words, all of those teams are still fighting. Dallas is still fighting for the division.
Yeah.
The Vikings are still fighting for the 1 seed. Philly wants to push down the Saints draft pick, and they also want to clinch home field advantage in the bye. So it's this Jalen Hurts thing is whether or not who's going to play and who plays all banged up this is not a case where it's you can just casually rest everybody and just assume you'll be fine.
Yeah, I think Philly and Dallas and that whole NFC East thing is interesting. But for me, the one that I find just hilarious is the Vikings-Packers game. The Packers are laying 3 points to a team that is the clear-cut, already clinched the division. It's just when you look at the records, it's so funny. Just to kind of, and again, every team's different. It's, not all records are created equal. But it's almost like the Patriots laying 3 points against the Buffalo Bills, Or you look at the Kansas City Chiefs laying points to, say, the Las Vegas Raiders.
I mean, a 7-8 team is laying 3 at home against
so funny how that looks.
12-4, 12-3 Vikings team. I mean, it's crazy.
To me, it's just
and yet, who would you take? I mean,
exactly. I just continue to say that this Vikings team is fool's gold. They're ripe to be plucked in the first round. It just feels that way because they keep getting in these one-score games, and credit to them, they keep coming out and winning them. So you got to give them that. They were able to beat the Giants last week on the last second, but it just doesn't feel like this is an elite team in the NFL, even though the record would say that they certainly are. And so with me, the Packers, they just feel like they have a little bit more momentum, like legitimate, like, okay, they're kind of sneaky scary all of a sudden for whatever reason. It seems to be clicking with the wide receivers, the rookie wide receivers starting to emerge, the defense playing a little bit better. They obviously had 3 interceptions off Tua last week. I kind of like the Packers in this spot, as crazy as it sounds. And historically, they've done well. Green Bay 9-4 against the number in their last 13 games against Minnesota.
I was going to point out, I was just going to look and see what Justin Jefferson's average he's 3-2 in his 5 games against the Packers. 39 targets, 28 catches, 4 touchdowns in those 5 games, and 92.6 yards per game, which is really stout. I mean, like when you look at his game logs, it's actually not one of his better, like full blown game logs, but when you factor in that's over 5 games, it's pretty impressive. My theory was going to be, can the Packers lock up, or do they match up well with the Vikings because they can put Jair Alexander on Justin Jefferson and then, just kind of clog the running lanes and try and slow him down. I just don't think it matters with Justin Jefferson a whole lot. He's just that good. Yeah. But I mean, Green Bay's defense has played better the last 2 weeks. Certainly that second half against Miami was closer to what we saw against the Rams the week before. And the first half, it's like, oh, well, that Rams game was just a myth and like a lie. Aaron Rodgers still isn't playing great, but he's playing good enough. And I think it's really tough to go down to Miami and win on Christmas Day. Like that's not an easy play. That's not an easy spot to go win in. And now that's like everything's in front of you. Just win 2 division games at home. I love the Packers in this spot. And I think you pointed out that the Packers are 9-4 against the spread. Their last 13 against Minnesota. Yes, it's a different Minnesota team. They got them in week 1, but Green Bay's on a heater right now, and I'm definitely backing the Packers here.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It just feels like the momentum and everything is going in their direction. It's one of maybe the best home field advantages in the NFL, Lambeau Field. I just think that this is one of those scenarios where, as crazy as it sounds, because of the records, you would think that at this time of the year, outside of maybe resting starters or something along those lines, that Minnesota should be a favorite here, even on the road. But
or like a pick 'em at worst.
Right. But looking at the way that these teams are getting to this game, I don't know how you go away from the Packers at this point.
Yep. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll look at some more spreads and discuss whether or not the Jaguars and the Titans will rest their players. Next.
I've never lost a wingman.
You're lucky. Fly long enough, it'll happen. It's been an honor flying with you.
Top Gun Maverick, rated PG-13, now streaming on Paramount Plus.
If you're watching on YouTube, you just saw a Paramount Plus clip for Top Gun Maverick. I got goosebumps the entire time during that commercial. Like that was.
I'm psyched because I haven't seen it yet, and I've been dying to see it. I know. It's
You're
so
a Paramount employee. You get it for free.
I know. Well, now I got it, so I'm excited. I'm ready.
Because it hadn't been on Paramount Plus until recently.
Yeah, it was recent. I think it was over the holiday weekend. It came.
Okay.
So,
I mean,
we've been busy.
If you can go see it in the movie theater.
Yeah,
I guess use Paramount Plus for sure. I mean, I wouldn't wait to watch it. I just watch it on Paramount Plus. Like, I'm not a huge movie theater guy.
I'll go. I haven't been in a while. I see the Marvel movies and stuff, but that's about it.
Yeah, I saw Top Gun on my birthday with my parents because I was just happy to be in High Point, and so like we went and saw that. And like, yeah, I try to go see the Marvel movies, but like if they put it on Disney Plus, like I'm more than likely going to just like fire it up at home and
for sure. You wait it out.
Yeah, like I mean, I just happened to go see Maverick. I guess I didn't stream. Yeah, if it's on Paramount Plus, highly recommend watching.
For sure.
It is so freaking good. If you want Paramount Plus, go fire up. I think you get first month free.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. There's some kind of deal. Go check out ParamountPlus.com. Got a ton of great
Good
stuff
little
on there.
belated Christmas gift for you.
There you go. Maverick, Top Gun. It's really, really good. Like I watched it. Yeah, it's really, really good. So the Titans and the Jaguars are not playing each other this week. But Sully, the games that they are playing in do not matter for them whatsoever. The Titans are hosting the Cowboys on Thursday night. As we mentioned, Dallas still very much in the hunt for the NFC East. And because they play Thursday, they won't be able to know what the Eagles do on Sunday at 1 o'clock when they play the Saints. The Jaguars are at the Texans on Sunday at 1 o'clock. And, you know, I think we were making you can make the compelling case, and I don't think the head coaches would disagree with us, that you could quite easily, sit your players. And we've seen the line for the Titans, who are at home, already tick up to Cowboys -10. It was -9.5 on Sunday. Mike Vrabel has stated he would be willing to rest his players. The Jaguars are 4-point favorites at Houston. Yet to hear from Doug Peterson on that matter. But I mean, I just sort of wonder from a betting perspective, like if I am getting on the Cowboys -10 early, if I can. You could put the Cowboys money line into money line parlays pretty easily, -480. You know, it's on the road. I mean, you're laying a lot, but you know, you can, if you see some other stuff you like that you think will work out, especially like around bowl season, there's absolutely an opportunity. Like, I wouldn't do the Chiefs, for instance. You know, you toss the 800 in there against the Broncos, you feel pretty comfortable in that victory. And then if you can find, I feel pretty good about the Raiders. The 49ers taking care of business against the Raiders. Mm-hmm. I don't know about the Chargers against the Rams. That one scares me a little bit. But if you do Cowboys, Chiefs, 49ers moneyline parlays -115, like that feels pretty good given what those teams all need and their opponents. If you're Mike Vrabel, why would you play Derrick Henry? Why would you play any of these guys? And I think the same goes for the Jags. Like Doug Peterson, maybe with a little bit more of a reason to play guys because you want to keep the momentum going. But if you got somebody who's banged up, like you need to sit him. Like Derrick Henry. I mean, I want him to play because I want him to win the rushing title over Josh Jacobs. Probably not going to happen, but man, like the only thing that matters is week 18 for these two teams. Nothing about week 17 matters.
It's so weird how that ends up being the case, but again, it is. And so I'm with you on that roughly. Like, yeah, I don't think that there's really any reason to all of a sudden give Derrick Henry like 22 carries against the Dallas Cowboys defense that is going to be going all out in this game. So I'm with you on that, but I do think, as weird as it sounds, you do kind of play your guys, again, all the healthy guys. If someone's, 50-50 or anything like that, I would lean towards keeping them out. But for the Jaguars, there's something about keeping that momentum going. I just feel like there's something there, and you don't want to kind of mess that one up. But going to Dallas a little bit, I know 10's a big number here, but they're 10-3 against the spread in the last 13 games against team with a losing record like Tennessee does. And then they're 11-4 against the number in their previous 15 road games. So, they do play well. Again, huge number. So, not to.
Yeah, but I mean, like this number's going to this number gets to 14 if they start announcing that everybody's out.
Sure. Yeah.
And they're like, we're sitting Derrick Henry, we're sitting, Jeffrey Simmons. And I mean, Mike Vrabel hinted that they would do that. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if this number climbs quickly.
And just with the Jaguars in the Texans game, obviously we're looking at it from playoff positioning and stuff like that. But Houston sneaky playing or losing for the number 1 overall pick. I mean, did you not learn from the Jets guys? Like, my God. I mean, obviously a few years ago, this is the difference between Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson. Yeah. And so, you never know what kind of player could, if you're going to be in the Bryce Young sweepstakes, like you might lose Bryce Young in this game if all of a sudden you start winning. And quickly, Houston, kind of a sneaky good bet this year. Obviously, we're talking about them as the number 1 overall pick, but 7-7-1 against the spread. I mean, it's not. And I
think they've covered their last two. Like
they played well. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think I would probably like the Texans in that spot as well. And you need to wait and see what Doug Peterson says about those guys. Even if like, and it wouldn't be surprising at all if they pulled, like, you get a lead and you yank Trevor Lawrence out in the second half. You lose your left tackle. You just don't need. You can't have another offensive lineman go down. You need Travis Etienne to be healthy. But I do agree that it's like. It would feel like a momentum killer to just suddenly pull everybody out from the Jaguars and not keep pushing for it. But Doug Peterson's an Andy Reid guy who knows what he might ultimately decide to do. The New York Giants 2 games left. Obviously, everybody's 2 games left. Can clinch a playoff berth with a win or a tie? There's 2 scenarios where they can clinch with 3 scenarios where they can clinch with a tie. Seems like a bit much. If Seattle and Washington both lose, they can clinch. If Seattle, Detroit, and Green Bay all lose or Green Bay ties, they can clinch. Or Washington, Detroit, and Green Bay all lose, they can. Yeah. So there's like a bunch of ways they can get in if several teams lose. But most importantly, they have to. They can win and get in. They play the Colts at home on Sunday, and the Giants have been pretty frisky against the spread, right?
Yeah, I mean, not just frisky, flat out good. 11-4 against the spread this season, second best number in the NFL, only looking up to Cincinnati. And this one just is interesting to me because they're only laying 5. And I know that they have been very similar to the Minnesota Vikings. They're always in these one-score games, more often than not come out on top. I mean, obviously, you saw that last week against Minnesota themselves with that last second field goal. But to me, you're going up against a Colts team that is just awful right now. I mean, they were not good last week. They're expected to start Nick Foles the rest of the way. With a playoff trip on the line, it just feels like I don't mind laying that number. Daniel Jones hasn't been horrible over the last month or so. I pulled up the numbers. Let me see if I can pull it here. Yeah, last 4 games, he's completing over 70% of his passes and has a 93.1 passer rating. I mean, the yardage and the touchdowns aren't as prolific. He only has 3 touchdowns over that 4-game stretch, but he's still a very efficient quarterback right now, and he's moving the ball well with a really depleted wide receiver core. I just feel like this game, they could really start to roll in the Colts, who are going to maybe start laying over even more than they already were this season.
I mean, the Colts that Monday night, the end of the second half of that Monday night game was just
lifeless.
Backbreaking. Yeah. And it's like, and when I was making my picture of this game, I was like, man, I kind of want to take the Colts getting, I think it was 4 at the time. It's already moved up to 5. And then I was like, wait a minute. I was like, the Giants pass rush has been good.
Yeah.
And the Colts offensive line is terrible. Like I would not want to trust the Colts, especially if Nick Foles or Matt Ryan playing against a Giants pass rush with Kayvon Thibodeau, Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence, not Leonard Williams. He's wait, is Leonard Williams still there? What's wrong with me? Dexter Lawrence is still there. That's the point I was trying to make. I got Christmas brain going on. Ever get Christmas brain? I can't believe it hadn't happened sooner. Leonard Williams is still there. Yeah, I'm not crazy.
Yes, he's still there. Yeah.
Thank God. I was like, wait a minute, what am I talking about? Yeah, I mean, like they got dudes up front, and the Colts can't block anybody. And you saw it 7 sacks in Nick Foles on Monday night. I think Jeff Saturday will try and shorten this as much as possible, run the ball a ton. Giants get the pass rush home, can win this game comfortably, like 20-3, and easily cover. I mean, that's just just sort of what you saw from them on Monday night. All right. Mention the Seahawks. Jets are -2.5 at Seattle. Mike White is involved. How much does that matter to the spread, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a huge turn of events here. Obviously, he's been the guy to really put this team back on the map in terms of the postseason. They're still in it. I mean, they could still certainly make a run to the postseason, and they've done well. And they've done well on the road this season. And again, that's a mixed mash of quarterbacks in the mix, but 5-2 against the spread on the road. You would think that Mike White basically moves this game from even to -2.5. Seattle, Lumen Fields, it hasn't been the home field advantage that we've known it to be. I believe it's 3-3 against the spread at home this season. So in this Seahawks team is so much on the downward trend. This feels like a good spot for New York here, especially with it under a field goal. To me, this is a sweet spot for me.
Now, one thing to note, Geno Smith, 2-0 against the spread and straight up in revenge games this year.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Teams that he played for before. I think it was the Giants and the Chargers, and now getting, of course, the team that drafted him, the ultimate Geno Smith revenge game, hosting the Jets in a spot too where like the Seahawks, it's like Seahawks playoff hopes are on life support right now. They're not dead, but they're on life support, and they got you got to win this game.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to win this game. Don't get me wrong, trending in the wrong direction. You don't feel good about it. I'm just saying, like, Seahawks are down to 27%. You win this game, you shoot up to 42%. The Jets eliminated if they lose this game. Seahawks would be all the way up to 72% if they won their last 2 against the Jets and the Rams. At home, they'll need to get some help, from Minnesota, I guess, to beat the Packers. And then just trying to do that. I'm trying to think. Oh, the Lions need to get some help from Yeah, they need some help from the Vikings to beat the Packers and the Packers to beat the Bears. I mean, the Lions, excuse me. I'm trying to think who else is the other competition there in the NFC. Commandos. Yeah, if Commanders. Yep. Yeah. Commanders went out, they would get in over the Seahawks. But if the Commanders go one, so they need the Seahawks need some help.
You're talking about two desperate teams clinging to the postseason because the Jets they clinch a playoff berth if they win their final two games, and then
they're eliminated if they lose here. Yeah.
Yes, and then if New England loses one of their final two games, which seems likely,
sure,
they're playing Miami, playing Buffalo. Again, maybe it's Teddy Bridgewater, but who cares? Jets are very much still in this. Yep. And Mike White, we've seen when honestly, it's not even Mike White. If it's a quarterback not named Zach Wilson, this team plays entirely more motivated. I mean, it's just
made up a name. I don't even know.
Right. I mean,
Chadwick Sedgefield, when he's in the game.
When Will Brinson goes in, they are just wildly
the
more motivated.
The offense just boom explodes.
And so when you have the back against the wall season on the line, you get in your quarterback that you are rallying around. Everybody's wearing Mike White t-shirts and all that stuff. He's now back under center. You feel like there's a good upswing here. And so for me, with it being less than a field goal, I feel pretty comfortable here going with New York. But again, I see you on Seattle as well. They're in the same boat. I just feel a little bit better about how New York has been playing over the last few weeks.
I don't love Seattle, but I do like Geno Smith in revenge games. That's basically my entire thesis for it. All right. Anything else against the spread to look at for this week?
No, I think those are the big ones. Try to kind of put all the playoff and kind of interesting numbers and all that with these ones.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically the only other one. Washington could clinch with a win, a Seattle loss, a Detroit loss, and a Green Bay loss or tie. We're just talking about a lot that has to go on in order to really
Some
make
of it gives
happen.
you a popsicle headache for sure.
Yeah, it's a popsicle headache. I like it. All right, that'll do it for us. Sully, as always, a pleasure, buddy. We will we'll talk again on Monday.
I'll talk to you in the new year. Happy New Year, buddy.
See you next year. As the kids like, is that right? See, what's because that's just right.
Yeah.
Oh, because Saturday is New Year's Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Phew, man, I can feel good on Sunday after a bowl game right into New Year's Eve. Can't wait for that.
Oh yeah.
Fun times. All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. For Sully, I'm Brinson. We'll see you guys later.